What up? What up? What up? Happy Wednesday, hump day. Everybody, I hope is doing well and getting to know that they are halfway through the week. For those of you that have 2 more days of work, hey, hang in there. You got this. For those of you that are praying for snow or maybe getting snow, enjoy that. You're gonna have some time off. But all of us, I know this, are preparing for a weekend of love, Valentine's Day. And, when it comes to Survivor, there's a lot of romances, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of people who care deeply about each other and then put a knife in each other's backs. It's great. It's just lovely. So, with the theme of love being in the air, we've got to recap Survivor Angelica Medieval Mayhem episode 7, Drain the Moat. Um, it was quite the episode. We had some conflict. We had some good stuff. We had some bad stuff. But it was a jam-packed episode full of a lot of things that you gotta love. So with the theme of love, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my friends to the stage. Santi, what up, dude?
What's up, everyone? How are you?
T, what up?
Going on.
Ayla, what up?
Hi.
Everybody looks so cozy and nice and ready just to really unpack just a really really crazy episode. And we've been saying that that's kind of been the trend throughout the season. We keep trying to one up each other in every episode. I'm afraid that we're gonna have just a normal episode soon, and people are just gonna be like, "Well, that wasn't any fun." But it is what it is. When you're playing Survivor, there's a lot that you got to do, and you don't mean some of the things that you say, and you don't mean some of the things that you do. Everyone's just trying to win a game. But the, Ayla, this was your episode. I want to first start off and tell you, you played a great game. You made the merge, and like it's a very hard thing to do. And a game as short as these 3 day long live reality games, it's really hard to jam pack just a really, really just there can only be one winner. So like when you're talking about 3 days of just nonstop like mental assault, it takes its toll. And you did a great job battling. You did a great job navigating the game. I mean, as we all would say, I think, if things work different, like outcomes could be totally different. But that is the game. But I'll start with this. The opening, you see Katie talking about, why she voted for Chad at the last tribal. And, she said she felt as though it would be much easier to work with you and Hannah as opposed to Chad. So let me ask you, were you aware that Katie was like felt that way and had possibly maybe an alliance or something that she could lean on with you two?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that was one of my best moves in the game was getting in good with Katie because she was so powerful. And I felt like she had power when I was in it, but then watching back, seeing how much she and her group were dominating the game was really good to watch. But yeah, it was that it's not that she didn't have a good relationship with Chad. It's just that her and I got along super well and I put in a lot of work with her. And I think everyone knew that if you had me, you had Hannah, and if you had Hannah, you had me. So I think she was like, "Oh, this is an opportunity for a package of two."
Yeah, definitely. So what is the mindset like? You play your advantage and you get immunity from that last tribal. Chad ends up going home. So when you get back, like what's the mindset? Are you like, please, Lord Jesus, let there be a merge, let there be something to like get me back going? Or were you like, all right, now let me dig in and see what I can do? Or were you kind of just defeated at that point? And you're like, well, I guess I'm next.
No, ever since I saw that the FOA 4 make it all the way, the one with Natalie and Russell, and I always thought, you know what, it's unlikely, but it's possible. So no, I didn't feel like there was no chance. I knew I was going to give it all I had, and I knew that Katie was willing to work with me at least. But I figured if we were not going to merge, the best chance was to win the challenge. It's just that I knew that taking a risk of keeping an ally with me would set me better up to win the game rather than just to survive to the end of the game. And I would rather go out fighting, trying to have some agency than to, you know, just make it a little further being subservient, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of the game that you have to play sometimes is you have to float that balance of, all right, when do I need to be subservient in certain positions and when do I need to just fight my ass off and assert some dominance? Santi, you didn't really have to assert any dominance because you were pretty powerful at this point. You made a mention, like you felt like you were in a good spot. You know, with an idol and safety without power, do you really feel safe, or you kind of know that you have the tools to be safe, but you really don't know, like people might know that you have those things, so that's like, well, let me deal with that guy.
I never felt safe. Like in my head, every tribal council was like, they're going to blindside me because that's what I would do to somebody who had two huge advantages in their pocket. And every tribal council, it never happened. So like it was this weird conundrum of like, for me, I just wanted the power. I didn't necessarily, let me rephrase that. I wanted to know where the power was at because there was so much out there, and just holding on to two, like I was like, okay, well, I know where these are at, and I know where the other idols are at. Like you hear me talk about it, where I'm like, I know where every single thing is at. So then I can at least predict what people are going to do with that stuff. But it was still hard to hold on to what I had.
Yeah. T, I think that was one of the things that we did kind of rest our head knowing is when all of our former Thane members had power, at least we knew where the power was. You know, we knew who was holding it. We knew where it was at. We knew if we were going to be able to maneuver a way to use it or utilize it or work against it, we knew who we would have to target to do that. Were you aware that Santi went at the end of that last challenge and got that safety without power?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
So I couldn't. I couldn't remember if he.
Yeah, you were in there, DD, so you probably would have told them.
Yeah.
I probably.
Through you. But like
Yeah.
I said at Tribal, I was under the impression, and clearly at Tribal, everybody agreed that everybody knew where everything was. So nobody was under the impression that anything was a secret as far as I was concerned, as far as everyone was concerned, until it wasn't convenient sometimes. Santi, I think you're so funny every time you offer up the idol. You're like, I don't even want the idol. I'm going to play it. And then walks out of Tribal with it.
I told everybody I don't want it. Here you go.
I literally, I was hoping that somebody would challenge me on that, and I was going to give it up. Like I wouldn't have done it at Tribal, but like at camp or anything, because I did it whenever after the mic vote, like whenever you and Tara were having your heated conversation about why the idol was played. Like I was like, does anybody want this idol? Nobody said anything because I was like, get this out of my hands, give it to somebody else, let them become a bigger target. I don't want this thing. I wasn't giving up safety.
What if Tasha had asked you for it? What if
No, it had to
Tasha?
be one of the original thing. It had to be one of the original things.
So
There were conversations had that weren't followed through on, just regardless of giving idols away or not giving idols away. Neither here nor there, doesn't really matter.
I will say though, there was one point where I was shady about it because when we swapped.
Exactly. Don't act like you
swapped. You went to Tara and I was like, bye.
I love you. I love that you're a villain. I'm fucking living for it, girl. But like, I will call your ass out just like I call other people out, because you know what? I am a strong believer of what I say about your game is solely about the game.
Yeah, not the same way.
People I love. Santi, I love you to death. Like I learned so much.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think you think I'm a horrible person.
So,
I knew, yeah, I was offering it up. I wanted people to call me out about it, but like I also wasn't gonna like freely give it up. So like whenever I saw you talking to Tara, I was like, boop, bye. And so I was like, I don't have to be part of this conversation, so I don't really have to give it up.
I play a serious game, and I will admit the shit that I do, and I just don't play a game of like, let's pretend that I didn't do anything.
Oh no, I do.
I'm not talking about you. I know you know. The whole point of my topic was that the theory of knowing where the idols are is great until you remember that you're playing Survivor. And Survivor only goes one way, never. Right? It never happens.
It never goes the way that you want it to.
Right. The chances of the game, and I think I would have loved, and I think I played a little bit too much of wanting the game to go as more of a classic Survivor game. But we know, just like every other host out there and in the LRG world, and just like Jeff, twists are coming, right? And so, like, I think that we have now gotten too far in the game with these idols, and there is no way to work around them at this point in the game.
Which is why we should have got rid of them in the mic vote.
Yeah,
Girl,
and
again.
don't get T started.
I love your tribe. Your tribe was just like, you guys were having fun too, but it was so much more business. Like on an early vote, you guys were ready to try and, you know, flush stuff. I'm telling you, like, we should have been more like that. Our tribe was just nonstop shenanigans, joking around, and flushing advantages, being strategic. That was more your tribe at the start of the game.
It was clear that once the game started, it had started on our tribe. I do know that. I mean, Santi, I'll say this: when we swapped tribes, you and Tara and Katie couldn't move over to the red side fast enough. Y'all were like, "All right, peace, we're out." And I think T, we had a good idea something was gonna come, and like we knew we were gonna get fucked. Like that was just how it was. But
yes.
We didn't do anything about it.
I walked slowly over to the red side when I saw the number minority. I did not run. Well,
the good news is we get a merge. We all get together and we become the Aloria tribe. You know, it's something I guess for you, Ayla, was making the merge. Is that like the goal? Or, you know, I think that's kind of what I was hoping for is let's make merge and then see what happens.
Yeah. When I say that, you know, I just want to make the merge, it's not because I think that there's anything wrong with being a pre-merge boot. I think that people go out playing hard, trying to set themselves up, but it's more of a I want to play the game for longer. I want to get to be part of the jury and do the vote. So making it to that portion of the game was a big goal. Of course, the goal is to win, but I know how unlikely that is percentage-wise. So yes, making the merge was the goal.
Yeah, Santi, what about you? You played a lot of these. What is your goal? Is it to make final three? Is it to win, or like you're just like just give me a chance to make merge and then we'll see what happens?
When I played this was my second one. So my first goal was to beat my placement from my first game. And then my goal, anytime I go out to do any of this stuff, is just to have fun. Like I just want to go out there. I want to have fun. I want shenanigans. Like just remember, it's an experience that we'll never get to recreate. So let's have the most fun with it.
Absolutely. And T, what about you? Did you have any expectations coming into this game as far as placement?
I definitely wanted to I go into every game wanting to make the merge, for sure. I talk about this in the episode. I had played a game prior to this, a one-day game. Shout out to competitive events, Johnny Stockton. If you want to play a one-day game, that's where to do it.
Applications just opened.
And applications just opened, rookie seasons, Blood versus Water, do it. Competitive events got me here, and I will never say anything bad about them. But I had played a one-day unfinished business competitive events game before this, and I did make it to the last boot before the final three. And so I competed in every single individual immunity and took home 0 necklaces. And that was a bigger ego boost than losing right before final tribal, which it's worse than being voted out first. I'm standing on that, dying on that hill. But the fact that I did not get a necklace after competing in like 10 individual immunities was disgusting. And so just coming into the game and getting that necklace right off the bat, first individual immunity, was like, whatever happens after this, like I did what I came here to do. I have a necklace around my neck. Like I don't suck.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, obviously before we get to the merge, one of my favorite moments of this season happens. We didn't see it, but it happened, and Santi will remember this very clearly. We all go back to the camp for the first time as a merged tribe, and somehow we split off. and old Lauren is talking to each other, and old
God.
Thane is talking to each other. And we're having a very candid conversation about moving forward. And Santi is just like, we need to just get rid of all of them.
No. That's not what happened.
Something to that effect.
But so I will let me reframe the story.
There were names thrown.
Yes. So we go in the cabin and old Lauren are outside. I remember lying down and like we're all talking, everything's happening. I'm just kind of like, I then say, hey guys, we're sticking to the 7, right? I say this lying down, and then I sit up and I see Natasha right there unpacking her bag because I didn't hear her come in because when I lied down, that's what happened. I was so ready. I was like, I'm done. My game's over. I wrote Ava's name down by accident with the chat thing. Like, I'm cooked at this point.
And immediately, Tasha goes outside, and we're like, well, there goes that.
She told us right away. And I was like, I mean, we already knew this, but that's so funny that happened. That's hilarious.
Ayla, when you guys are out there talking and it's all old Lauren, and I don't know this, I'm just looking at what they edited in. It looked like you were leading like the conversations. Like, what were you guys talking about at this point?
Realistically, like, and just like Tiana said, everyone that I talk about in the context of the game is just the game. I really can't tell you how much I love everyone in that group of 4. They are so wonderful. But at that point in the game, Tasha was not really looking for how can we move forward as a group. She was more like thinking about advantages, I guess. Like she was saying, you know, like, let's do this. And I think she wanted to stick with the group, but she wasn't. I think that was where her focus was at, was like, I need to get an advantage. So it wasn't going to be her leading the conversation. And then Hannah and Joelle were both of a similar mentality, which was, you know, let's just make it through this vote. And they were both quite like, they were working their social game. And I think I was more kind of like T for Thane, thinking, how can our group progress? I want a chance to win this thing. And I know the only way that happens is if all 4 of us can survive this first vote.
Yeah.
Because the game
you have
changes
to have numbers
after that.
Yeah.
The game changes a lot after the first vote. That's when, like, the first vote, it's historically, it's always the dominating tribe wants to get rid of someone on the minority, have an easy first vote, and then maybe the next vote is when things start to collapse. So I was like, if we can find a way, you know.
And we'll talk about it. You guys, I mean, you had a good idea. But like you said, at this point you got to have numbers, and so it's, despite who you want to work with, you kind of got to take what's there, because it's easy to convince those 4 to stick together than to go over, especially after, Natasha over here, Santi saying, like what the deal is. So like she's coming out there, she's like, look, I'm basically going to go around here, look for idols and advantages, try to save myself. I'll work with y'all if we got to, but like we're going to have to do something. But the great news is we hadn't had an immunity challenge, and so that's always an opportunity to throw a wrench into it. So we go and we figure out, with the medieval mayhem, that the immunity challenge is going to be a joust. It's like I don't know, a 10-foot plank, and you joust. First person that steps off loses. Best 2 out of 3. Ayla, you and T crushed this. Y'all did awesome. I'll ask you, Ayla, did you surprise yourself, or did you look at it and go, oh, I got this, I know this is something that I can do?
Funny enough, I don't usually predict things correctly, but right away I thought it's going to be me and T. Because when I think about everyone in that game, we all had different strengths. Paige, Puzzle God. Me and T are the sporty, balancy type, like the ones who are wiry, I guess. And this challenge took balance. And I knew she was going to be fast to capture the flag. And I knew Hannah was more dancey. So it was like, that's what I thought. I was like, if someone's going to be aggressive and knock someone off here while staying still, it's going to be me and T. And she's the one that's going to beat me if I lose.
Yeah. So T, when you look at it, what's the initial reaction? Are you like, fuck? Or are you like, oh, I think I can do this?
Unless it's a puzzle, I go into every immunity challenge thinking, oh, I can. Puzzles, I'm working on. I think I fool a lot of people. I'm really small. I'm short. I'm skinny. I'm like, I don't think people look at me and are like, oh, that's a physical person. But I find that that's my strength. I am an athlete. I do enjoy being physical. I want to hurt somebody. Like that's like
Did
not
you
an,
see yourself running in the theme song?
yeah,
Like that's
I mean,
an athlete.
yeah. So, I have faith in every physical challenge that I go into for sure. And then like the competition wasn't ridiculously large at that point, like Ayla was saying. So
I initially thought, I was like, shit, like I have like big feet, and like it's not conducive to walking on anything that is like a plank or a balance beam or something like that. And I was like, this is gonna suck. I think my balance is fine. It's just, can I maneuver myself around it? And then I was like, well, let me see you guys do it and see if there's anything that I can pick up on. And I didn't really pick up on anything. I just felt worse when it was our time to go about it than anything. Santi, what was your thought going in? Did you have a plan or an idea, or you were just like, let me just fucking swing this shit out of this thing?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, I joked about this is my favorite challenge because I walked up and I was like, I'm losing this one. Absolutely. Like, I have no balance. I have no coordination. So you guys are taller than me. I was like, they're gonna win this. There's no chance. I got this.
Yeah, I quickly realized, I think, on it that I didn't want to do a whole lot of movement, because I think the first time I started moving forward quicker than what I should have. And I was like, all right, that's just throwing me off. Let me sit back and kind of wait for them to come to me, and then I'll slowly make my way if nobody's moving. But yeah, I wasn't too confident in this challenge at all. And, you know, to be honest, like if I ended up having to go up against you or Joel, I was like, I could see a scenario where you beat the shit out of me or Joel beats the shit out of me too. So it's, you know, I wasn't, you know, as enthused. I think I'm just very competitive, and I was like, when it's time to go, I'm just like, I'm going for it. But
well, you figured out the trick, because you won that because you figured out if I just jump higher, everybody will touch the ground quicker than me.
So I realized that when everyone, like, as soon as they were falling off, their first inclination was, let me touch ground as quick as possible. And I was like, well, if I'm going to fall off, I'm going to jump as high as I can just to, you know, see what happens here. And
That's so smart.
It ended up paying off. But you know, what's that?
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I think the first time that Joel knocked me off, I was like, okay, if I can, I'm going to make sure I jump. So I just had that in the back of my mind. So luckily it paid off. And T, you crushed it. You take down Ayla. Ayla, hard fought. She earned it on you. But you mentioned that was part of like the bucket list. And I'll say this, I was proud for you, and I hope you were proud of yourself. Like, that's a huge thing to do. You know, because, you know, no offense, but you're the smallest person out there, and I'm sure people were overlooking you.
Yeah, I always am the smallest person out there, for sure. So like I said, I like to come in and in this moment, I wasn't just proving it to everybody else, but I had to prove it to myself. Like I really had. I mean, I've watched Survivor for years, and I'm like, I could do that. Like, I'd be a challenge beast. This be no problem. And then I'm like, this is it. I've lost every challenge I played. Like, I can't believe this. It's just a shot to the ego. So that was big for me. I told, you know, Chris, I said, you know, Survivor Angelica, where dreams come true. So.
Absolutely.
I really think her smallness was helpful against me, because I'm so much taller than her that bending down to try and get at her had me at this real disadvantage. I was like trying to squat as much as I could, and I'm like, I can only squat so much. Like, this is hard.
Yeah, the squatting's great until you get hit and you're starting to lose balance one way or the other, because then everything goes out the window because you're just trying to stay on. But it was a good challenge. I liked it because it went with the theme, and I think everybody, like, we kind of played with the idea early in the game, like we should just joust, and then all of a sudden here we are, and we have that opportunity. But T, you and I, we get some safety for a round, and it was nice. It was very nice to go into tribal knowing that at least I don't have to worry about my name at least one time. But Ayla, with you, was there thought in your head, like when you're going up against T, were you thinking I have to win this, or it would be nice to win this, or like what's going through your head? And after she takes it down, are you deflated because we see you later and Joelle just kind of sitting there and you're saying like nobody's talking to you? So like, were you defeated at that point, or were you just kind of just taking it all in and really waiting for people to come and try to have a conversation?
No, so I did try to talk to people, but I also didn't want to piss them off because they were also talking, to everyone else about what they were going to do. And so I really wasn't defeated until a moment that happens later in the episode. That is when I knew that it was over for me. And it is when I heard T whisper something. Um, but before that, I really knew, and it was true. I had a chance to survive. I knew going in from talking to Hannah and Katie that you guys were going to target me off right off the bat. But also, I had been a target since the very first vote. So I was really used to that at that point. Every time I went to tribal, I was a target. And on our original tribe, it was because I'd played Angelica recently. So I had to really socially maneuver to not be the vote there. Then I was in the minority. So I had to be one of the people. And then we get there and we have 4 of us to choose from. One who's in with one of you, one who's in with the other. And then I'm like, okay, I have to sell that I'm the better option to keep and hope Tasha doesn't find an idol. And so her looking around, I was like, I hope this makes her the target. And I'm sitting here visibly. I look like a bag of lazy shit and they're not going to want to vote me out. So that was my attempt. But I did talk to people.
So
it just didn't work.
I have to know what I whispered.
Vote Ayla. I think it was to tell me to vote Ayla.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will
wasn't
ask
sure
you
when you wanted to get to that part, but yes.
Well, we'll get there in a second. For me, Ayla, like you said, like for us 7, we were gonna target you. I'll be honest with you. I was gonna target Natasha every round until she's out of there. And I love Natasha, great person, but in this game, she was driving me crazy, and I couldn't take anymore. So, I mean, there could have been a lot of evil people on the other side, and I still would have went for Natasha just because I was my level of Natasha was full. I was done with her, but
I would love to talk about your relationship with Natasha. I did not actually. I kind of alluded to it last time I was on here, but we still can't fully talk about it. But I will just say that your dynamic with her was not one that was talked about the most. It entertained me greatly. I loved it.
So this is, and T can attest to this, I would say like 30 times throughout this, this season, I'm having to deal with the girls' alliance. And so when we're at that tribal where Steven goes, she's making it known, like, I'm putting my flag down and we're going girls' alliance all the way. And I was like, at that point, I was like, we're done. I'm done. On top of all the like searching and looking and like chaos that ensued, not to dive in too deep. I mean, she's still in the game. So like, I'll say this, just wait, but
we did a chocolate searching montage.
Yeah.
So mad.
a time lapse of Natasha just on a day-to-day basis looking for these idols.
And she was trying to chase her around. Sorry, go ahead.
after the tribal council, I go up to her and I'm like, I just, for like my own mental sanity, I have to know where you found the idol. Like, and she's like, oh, I found it under the cabin at Thane. And I don't know if you remember this.
You
Dan,
went all the way under that thing.
Before I went under the cabin and pulled like a like Christian when he did like the grid on the island and searched the grid to find that. I pulled that, but under the cabin. I spent about 40 minutes under that cabin looking for an idol. And so like I was like, and then I came out from the cabin and I turn and look at the camera and go, that would be a great place to hide an idol. Just right up, sticking up under the cabin. And then Natasha's like, oh, I found it just sticking up under the cabin. And I was like,
no. It wasn't there yet. It wasn't there yet when you were looking.
I was like, did they hear me say that this would be a good place to put an idol and then go fucking put an idol there? Because I will murder someone.
Well, I think that's what happened. He said, thanks for the hint. That's what we'll do. But everyone gets a chance to talk. You know, a lot of different conversations. When you merge, you're having to have conversations with everybody. Some of them are credible conversations. Some of them are kind of feeling people out. But inevitably, I think we have a pretty good plan, most of us, on how the vote's going to go. So we basically find out that, you know, Katie doesn't trust me or Natasha. So that was known prior to going. According to Tasha, Santi wins everything. And eventually...
Wait, Dan, I have a question. Sorry, before we get to tribal. I would love to hear from your perspective, because I was just sitting on the bench after forcing people to talk to me for 30 seconds before they had to, you know, go and talk to someone else. And you were all so nice to me. You were all like, yeah, like I'll hear you out, but I knew there was nothing. During that time, I knew that when we first got there, you guys had planned to target me. And then Katie said, I'm going to try and flip it. And then is that what, like, did Katie just say to the group, I would rather it be Natasha? Like, I would love to know how it happened.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think the conversation was splitting the vote. And the way that we agreed to it was to have the Daniel, T, and Jess vote for you. And then me, Katie, Tara, and Paige vote for Natasha.
Okay.
And then we were going to work on Joelle and Hannah independently. Like T and Daniel were going to work on Hannah, and me and Katie were going to work on Joelle. So, like, Katie was right. Like, we wanted to keep, we arranged that so it kept our word to you of, like, we're not going to vote for you in this next tribal council, which is the agreement we made before we before we merged. But that was the plan as far as I remember going into tribal council. And one of the reasons I didn't talk to you is because I didn't want it to seem like we were going to work something out later. So I was like, I'm going to keep my distance from her for right now. Because I think I think you and I had a conversation. I was like, Ayla, if we can make it through the next two votes, then we can definitely like do something. Because that was where my head was already at.
Yeah.
And then, so I just kept my distance from you with the plan that we had come up with the 7.
I just remember talking to Jess, and I was like, you know, I'm good with splitting votes, but I want to put my vote on Natasha. And she was like, all right, I'll put my vote on Ayla. So I do know, like, there was some chatter between her and I on what the original plan is and what actually happened. I didn't want to change how the voting ended up going, but I did want to make my vote for Natasha just because if she was going to go, I wanted to make sure that I was part of that. That's as petty as it is.
But something happened because then I can't remember how this tribal went down. Like I can't pull it from my memory, but we did walk into tribal, almost all of us thinking we were voting for Tasha.
I think so, yeah.
That's why tribal goes live, because I'm pretty sure the final plan before we get to tribal is Tasha, like completely.
That's what Katie told me, is that people decided there's no way she has an idol. We're just voting Tasha.
Oh, she's
and
blocking
then
us the whole time.
Yeah.
No,
so
we told y'all that she had an idol because
no, we didn't know she had an idol at that point.
I thought we were.
She found it right before tribal.
Okay.
I was with her.
Flush her idol, Dan, remember?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we didn't even know she had an idol at that point. It was taught her own craziness through it, like ruined
Her in the woods.
Yeah.
like
I
she
mean,
talked
that's
too much at tribal.
yeah. And I think
No, if she hadn't started talking, Tiana doesn't say, okay, we should split. Because at that point, I was the only person she had told she had the idol. And so I said to Hannah, okay, we don't want anyone else to know she has it because Katie, trying to trust Katie, says it's all going to be on Tasha now. But then I was just like hoping it would stay quiet because yes, we know that there's the advantages that could undo it. But I'm like, if I have any chance here, I want to make sure nobody knows she has it. But then it got, it became obvious with her guts, I think,
yeah.
in that
Well,
time.
I think that's why you guys felt good because you knew if we were all going to land on Tasha plays her idol. You are going to throw a couple votes at Jess, and then
Yeah.
Jess will go home. But Santi, I want to get with you because you were kind of, you were the guy. You and Natasha's dynamic in this tribal was uncanny. And it was amazing. And you don't strike me as someone who is just going to say crazy shit for the sake of saying crazy shit unless provoked. And she definitely poked the bear, and she definitely poked the wrong one. So
He's not the one.
I'm not the one.
He ain't the one. So Santi, all right, it seemed like you were hesitant at first, and then you were like, nope, I'm going all in on this. So was there some hesitation to create not chaos or a scene, but like to at least have your voice heard?
Kind of going back a little bit so Natasha and I were kind of what Katie described it. Like you just meet this person at Merge and then you're like, oh, now we got to go vote. So that was kind of me and Natasha's relationship because we had never talked to each other throughout the game. Then we get back to tribal or to camp during the Merge. I say the stupid thing with her in the cabin. Then she's in the woods. And then she gives me and Katie what, in my opinion, was a horrible pitch because she's like, I'm in the bottom. I don't know what I'm going to do. And we're like, okay, well, like, what do you want to do? Like, how can we help you? And she's like, I don't know. And then just walks away. And I was like, was it UT or was it Katie? I don't remember who. Like it was the weirdest pitch. Like,
and I wanted to be like, give me any fucking name. Like, give me anything.
But she's also loyal, okay? I know that doesn't bode well, but like Tasha and I may not have loved each other's strategies, but we were not going to write each other's name down. And so I really love her for that. She didn't say my name and she could have. It would have been easy.
Yeah. Well, it was like, say Hannah, like say Jess, like say something or say, hey, I have an idol. Like if you guys try to vote me out, like give me something to work with. And it was nothing. So I get to tribal council. I've blundered twice now. And I'm just like, I just want to sit here. I want to be quiet. I don't want anybody to focus on me. Like, just let me fade into the background. And when Natasha started in on me, I did turn back around and I had a moment of like, did that just really happen? And then I just went, oh, we're making TV now. And I turned on, like whatever came out, and it was on after that.
Was part of you like, why is she mentioning me here? Like, what's going on?
It wasn't why, and then I was like, well, I mean, I kind of get why because we haven't had the best start of things. And I was shocked. Like, if any name to get thrown out, like, I'm one of those players, like, I'm not going to announce who I'm voting for if I know they have an idol. It's like, it's a dumb play, I think, because then they use the idol, it gets flushed, yes, but then somebody else goes by accident. So when she announced it, I'm like, well, they're not voting for me. Because I think before that, I had told Katie, I'm going to play my idol. I don't feel safe because Joelle had just told me play your idol. And then Natasha says all that. And I'm like, well, if she's saying all that, they're not really going to vote for me because that's dumb. And so then
we were never gonna vote for you. So I think that's crazy that Joelle told you to play it. We never even considered voting for you.
Well, I think Joelle was still at that point, even though Joelle and I knew each other and we were working together, we weren't like solid yet. We were both still testing our numbers to see where like we were at. because I didn't know about the dual idol until after you played it. And then he came back to me and he's like, I shouldn't have given it to Ayla. Like I should have talked to you about it. Like he apologized to like fix up our relationship because we were still building something going forward.
Yeah.
And then
When we get there, go ahead.
I'm turning to Santi trying to now change the vote. And part of Santi is like, I don't know if you're telling me to change the vote because you're trying to vote for me. And so we had to have that whole conversation. And Santi went on a whole thing about his idol and playing his idol. And are you voting for me? And I'm like, no, I'm just trying not to have one of us get idled out, dude. Like, have I steered you wrong this whole fucking game? I think I said that to Santi. I was like, dude, I've given you everything. Like, just trust me.
Now it makes sense because I want to say Santi turned to me too and was like, who are you voting for? And I like mouth Natasha. And he was like, okay. I think he was just trying to get a read and verification, like, okay, it's not going to be him.
It was hard.
I wanted to be like, I got you 4 idols. Like, I'm clearly working.
Well, also, like, part of that paranoia was the offer of 5 that you had given me when we merged. You're like, hey, Santi, I have a 5. It's me, Dan, Jess, and Hannah, and you. And I was like, okay, yes, that sounds great, but I'm 5. And I'm over here at like 3 and 4 and 2.
You were not 5.
That was going. I know.
You were 3. You were after Dan. It was me, Dan, you.
Yeah. We had that conversation afterwards, but that conversation, everything that was going on at Tribal, like I was like, are they like they easily what was it? Replace Jess? Like just in my head, I was like screwed up.
And then I just want to point this out there. I proved it again to you. Again.
I'm sorry.
It makes me so mad that me and T were not on the same side. And also just like, because like I'm that person that's battling so hard for my allies, but it's hard to find other people that are going to do that. And when you do, it's like you're so unstoppable. And you two had that, and me and Hannah had that, but Hannah was really like convinced that if she was like, if I vote for Natasha, that'll be good for us. It just is one more vote that's not against you. But it's like, if she had just listened to me and voted for Jess, then we have 3. But in the moment, it's so scary to go against the majority. And I completely get that.
I think it's Joelle pointed it out in the group chat of like him and Hannah were basically vying for the same spot in the next round without knowing that each one of them were doing that.
Yeah. Well, we got to get to the votes, Ayla, unfortunately. We get a split vote. You and Jess both pick up 3 votes apiece. Natasha plays or two votes apiece. Yeah. Natasha plays an idol and she's good, and we have to deal with that next episode and see what happens with her. But when you're at the revote, when you go, shit, all right, it's a revote, are you still thinking that it could be Jess, or at that point you're like, there's no way, there's just no way?
No. The second that, like, I thought, okay, I knew Tasha was going to vote with me because I was the only one that was talking to her about vote this name. And also we were loyal to each other. But Hannah had you in her ear, and Joelle is a very smart player. He's not going to risk his game for what he thinks is a sinking ship. Both of them would need much more convincing and blueprints, not in the moment. But so I'm like, it depends on how many they're going to have. But as soon as the revote, no, of course I didn't think you guys were going to flip it. I'm just so happy that some people actually voted for Jess. I thought that it was going to be completely all Ayla votes. So.
Yeah, I mean, you had Joelle and Hannah voting Jess, and all the rest of us vote for you on the revote. And obviously,
was it Joelle? I thought it was Tasha and Hannah that voted, but I have no idea. They didn't show.
Yeah, Natasha. I'm not sure who she voted for, but
Joelle didn't vote for me in the second.
No.
Oh, well, that's so nice. Okay.
So I mean, at the end of it, you kind of what's about to happen, but you have some chance. There's emotions as anybody has when they know that it's coming. But for you, I think you have to be proud of the game that you played. You made merge. You did the ultimate goal that you had set forth in front of you, and it's a hard game. The dynamics of the game were tough to navigate as far as like the marketplace and having to know where things were and idols and stuff like that. And, you know, to be honest, like the game, and we've said this in every episode, if people don't find certain items or certain moves aren't made, like the game could have been totally different than how it played out. But, you know, it was awesome playing with you. You did a great job. I mean, I can't,
You guys too.
you know, you're a great friend, you know, and, you know, hopefully everybody gets a chance to play with you again at some point. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the
I'm a great
floor.
ally. You guys should work with me. I don't turn on my people, even though it's the smart move. So yeah, I would love to work with you guys.
I don't turn
Hey.
on my people either.
Here it
Oh,
is.
I didn't say you did. I didn't say you did. I'm just saying I don't turn on.
Here it is. There's another tease. Another tease. Running it back.
Final
26.
here.
Pardon? Sorry.
I said I'm feeling Final Four vibes.
Ooh.
Not the pregame. I mean, I'm
Pregame.
down. I'll never say that a good deal.
No, not at all. Hayla, I'll give you the chance. This is the floor. It's yours to say anything you want about your game, the game, and just anything that you feel like you need to put out there.
Okay. Well, I'll say that last time I played, the only other live I played was the Survivor 2022 Angelica. I had a ton of regrets about not playing aggressively enough. I had this whole thing of like, oh, if I tell this person I'm going to work with them, then they're going to tell the other person. So I only wanted to work with a couple people. But this time I really did try to talk to everyone. And I felt like I played the half idol. I got to compete. Like I did well in some challenges. So, and when I look back, I really can't think of anything that I'm like, of course, there's always things I can do better, but I can't think of anything where it was like, I should have for sure done this. What's wrong with me? You know, like I feel like I gave it everything I could in the moment with the brain power I had at the time. So I'm glad that I didn't play scared. And I do want to say the elephant in the room of how emotional I was at the end. Yeah, I'm an emotional person, but a large part of it had to do with I did not sleep at all the first night. And so I was just like, when you're just like, okay, you've been going so hard and then it comes down. It was just like that. It was just tears. So no regrets. Everyone was so awesome to play with. And Angelica is a lovely game with really nice crew. So yeah, I'm happy.
I think all of us can agree to this, that the lack of sleep, lack of food, the mental grind, the physical grind, everything, like you're not your best self. Let's be real. You're just not. And I think you did a good job navigating it all. And of course you're emotional. You care about it. You want to win. And like, that's what I love about these games is like, I don't want to come into a game where people are just okay having a good time. I want to play with people that want to win. And like, that's what makes it fun for me. Jason said the game takes its toll within hours, and like, he's right. Like, I want to say within minutes. Like, I'm getting my stuff out of the car and I'm like overwhelmed at everything already. I'm just like, oh shit. Like,
it's overstimulating meeting all these new people and having to remember all of their names at once and then all the different aspects of the game. Yeah, it's crazy.
And
I love pushing myself.
Hey, Ben, what up, Snyder? Big fan. We appreciate your support, man. Thank you.
I think people don't realize either that, not that we are different in the game, but there definitely is something you put on for these games, right? Like, you're going to be filmed, that there's going to be backstabbing happening. So like, it's just, it's funny because like I have my friends at work who are like watching or who like catch my Instagram stories and they'll come up to me and they'll be like, you're actually really funny. And I'm like, I think that's a I'll take that as a compliment. But like, we're kind of these different people that these characters that we play when we get into the game mode. So, it's also a release of like, yeah, you're exhausted, you're hungry, but like, okay, I'm like really myself now that the game is done. Like I can let go of this
like game version that I've been on for 2 days or whatever it is.
Yeah. I definitely think we all take on a level of game persona, whether we want to admit it or not. Like, I don't lie or like conspire to take money from a market in real life. But like, if you give me a game where I can do that, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And I do heighten up things for myself too sometimes. But I've also learned there are parts of my personality that I have to like take back a couple notches.
Yeah, it's you never know like how much persona you're going to have to put into a game until you're in it. And you might have this great idea of how you want to play a game, but I think it's pretty safe to say that whatever idea you have of the game that you want to play just gets completely turned upside down once the game actually starts.
And it has a lot to do with the people you're around. Like, I know DB and I have been bouncing back and forth a lot of just like, man, I was so quiet, man, I was so loud. And we just keep coming back to this idea of like, because we were paired up with each other, like we took on these personalities that we don't normally take on in our gaming world and in our real world. So like it just so many things that you could never recreate in like the world that are happening in this game moment that you can't practice for, you can't prepare for. It's just, you have to just play it as what it's going to do when you're in it.
Yep.
Something very startling about that tribal that made me laugh a lot was that the only thing I knew about Dan was our 1 second hug when I was meeting everyone, maybe a 1 second conversation, and then everyone telling me that he's so quiet. If you want to talk to him, talk to T. That is literally what I remember Tara saying to me is, if you want to talk to Dan, talk through T. And then all of a sudden,
which is not the truth, because Tara is probably the second person I talk to a lot,
But it was like, but then it was like, you were saying you were being sassy at travel, you were being funny. I was like, okay, everyone was wrong. Why are they lying to me? This is a big personality, actually.
I think I have a gift of humor of like one in like real time, but then when you go, oh, that shit was funny, when you have a second to simmer on it, and maybe that's not what real humor is, but I think it's pretty funny.
No, I definitely knew how funny you were, Dan. But there was definitely some like that's just T's sidekick rumblings happening at that point in the game too. It was not great.
Every good tag team's got to have the mouthpiece, the one that's the most vocal. I mean, I'll do all the, I don't know, but it was definitely fun, and I'm glad that we all met. And you said something about a 1 second hug at the very beginning, Ayla. I want you to rewind the last episode at the merge. There's a quick little 3 second hug that you and I have.
That's what I meant. That was that hug, but it was like, I didn't realize it was that long. That's great. I was so, I actually thought that because you were a sporty guy and I'm such a sporty person, I was like, if there's anyone I can pull, I want to pull T and Dan. Like I was like, maybe I can have like a sporty alliance with them, but you were both, like trying to survive, and you didn't have time to try and, see if we could work together. But in another game, I think we could have been great.
For sure. All right. Last comment, Jason. I brought it up a minute ago. Game knocks you down the walls and lets you just embrace the persona and get fully immersed. I mean, so true. You can be who you really are, or you can be someone totally different. I think that's the beauty of this game. If you want to be a villain and you're just a nice guy in real life, or the hero in real life, you have the opportunity of being the opposite. And, that might get you a long way, or it may not. But either way, it's fun. So before we bounce, Santi, I'll start with you. Anything you want to plug, promote, or get up out of there?
Yes, I am playing the Legacy Trials this June. It is a charity fundraiser survivor-based game. If you go to midwestcharitytrials.org, you can donate to my cause, which is Central Texas Little Dog Rescue. My goal is $500. Anything past that helps me get advantage into the game, and you guys know me. I like advantages, so thanks. This has been fun, you guys.
What do you think would get you an advantage? Like, how much over the 500?
I don't know. I'll talk about it off camera because I have theories.
Okay, I got you. All right, T, what you got?
like I said, competitive events, Johnny Stockton, they are casting, applications are out. Visit, LRG casting on Instagram to get that application. They are casting rookies. So if you're looking to kind of jump into our community, this is your chance. It's a 1-day game. Amazing game. It was my start in this community, and I cannot thank them enough for what they've done for me, and for this community, what they continue to do. Check out the challenge, the Caucus Challenge, Dre Media, always good. And as always, if you've got an application from me, cast me.
There you go. That's it. Ayla, what you got?
No game to plug that I run right now besides Angelica, which we've been plugging the whole time. But if you want to go see a movie I starred in when I was younger, it's called Going Through a Thing. It's on Apple TV. Or you can look at my blog, which is there's like a couple posts, but one of them's about Survivor. If you nerd up about Survivor. Yeah.
Let's go. Nice. For me, obviously, if you're someone who is on the fence about jumping into live reality games, let me tell you something. Just do it. It'll be the best decision you ever made. Don't worry about the fear. Don't worry about the anxiety. Don't worry about the getting voted out or none of that stuff. Just hop in, meet some new people, have a lot of fun. If you're ready to make that commitment, go over to Instagram, LRG_casting. You'll see a plethora of games that are out there ready for you to apply for. Also, I know this is something that you guys are chomping at the bit. So here's a little tease. Here's what I got for you. This is what I know. Casting decisions for Survivor Angelica 2025 are starting to be made. They're going through it. They're starting to make them. They will be done within the next 2 weeks, if not sooner. So if y'all applied in the next 2 weeks, keep a close eye on your emails. It's an LRG All-Star cast. So some of the best to ever do the LRG community is going to be casted. So we'll be ready for that. And the last thing that I want to put out there is I had the opportunity to talk to Survivor USF. University of South Florida has an on-campus club that revolves solely around Survivor. They had their first season I want to say it was late last year, and that's going to air on February 19th. Season 2 applications are in the works. So if you want to come down to Tampa, Florida, and you want to play some Survivor, it's going to be March 1st and March 2nd. I do know that. That is the dates that they're looking, and they're getting applications ready, and they're going to have a quick turnaround on that. But talk to Derek, talk to Emma, talk to Patty last night, and they're pumped. And, they're new to the LRG community. They're starting out, making their first season. It's refreshing. Santi, you mentioned it to me. It's refreshing to see people who are so excited about getting it going and creating a game. And it's just another way for this community to grow. So I'm all for it.
It was awesome. I was jumping in and out watching it last night, and it was so cool to see these 3 20-somethings have this passion. It was interesting to see Jason and Chris last week, who have been doing this for a while, and then see this younger group also have the same exact passion and same kind of conversations about the community that they're building, and how this, what is it, Emma, the host, how she doesn't want to play for 10 years and then she wants to come back and actually play, and all these cool things that they have planned for this. So it was kind of cool to watch. I think you guys, if you haven't watched that podcast, you should watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely give you some information on their Tribal Council. I thought that was creative. Their group name is the Tribal Council. They are the South Florida Bulls, so they use a play on words there. It's pretty cool. But yeah, they're looking to do seasons and have production come out pretty quick. I mean, with the college atmosphere and the campus, they usually have a lot of people that can be really good at that. So I'm interested to see what season 1 brings and what it looks like and how they run the game, because it's always nice to have one in my backyard, and I don't have to, I can apply for it. And if I make it, I don't have to do a lot of traveling for it. So that's always fun. But if anybody got any last pressing items before we get out of here? Hey, much love to y'all. Appreciate y'all. We got Episode 8 airing on Friday night, 7 p.m. YouTube. Check it out. Support us. We'll appreciate it. Make fun of us. Laugh. Make comments. Do whatever it is. Just watch. That's all I care about. You can make fun of me. You can talk smack. Do all that. I don't care. Just watch. But this has been Live Reality Games Podcast, Survivor, Angelica, Medieval Mayhem Recap. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.